today when I was talking to God, He wanted me to talk to you about me and how I got this gift or how it all came about. So when I was a little girl, about 3 years old, I told my mom that I was going to work for God. I was sitting in a church pew holding one of those little Bibles, like a pocket Bible, and it was upside down, and my mom flipped it over and said, well, I think you need to learn how to read before you decide that you're going to work for God. Because, she didn't know what was going on. I also used to tell her that I chose her and Dad as parents. That always made her real happy, because she was like, okay. She's like, it's a story you just wouldn't give up on. Like, no, I chose you. Well, now we know in my world that we do choose our own parents and the life that we want to go through, and the lessons that we want to learn, right? So I'm third generation. My dad and I, when I was a little girl, I grew up in Wisconsin Dells. This is on the streets in the Dells of Wajawa. And one of the local journalists got a picture of my dad and I. Yeah. It started there, folks. That strong connection between my dad and I when I was a little girl. Because my mom just pushed me off her lap. I love my mom. I'm just teasing. Teasing, Mom, teasing. This is me in my athletic years. No helmet. I was a warrior even back then. And look at that peace sign. I'm just saying. I still give the peace sign. Yes, I do. But these were the days when I was talking to the angels on my walls. I had wooden walls growing up in my bedroom. And I loved taking baths. And we grew up in a Wausau home, and so our bathtub was surrounded by heating elements, and so the bathtub would stay really warm for a long period of time. So my mom was like, heck yeah, put the youngest one in the bathtub and walk away. Good. Bye. I mean, how many of y'all wish you could do that, right? And I just loved it. And I would go out of my body and travel all over the place, and I just loved it. I still love water, and I still talk a lot to God in the shower. And a lot of people who are talk to angels and God and whatnot will say the same thing, that water is definitely a conductor. And this is my dog Leo growing up. Look at that hair. This is a West Highland Terrier, the same kind of dogs that I have today. And so this is me in 6th grade when I started to shut down. Very unsure of myself. Just really, really had a hard time with the people around me and fitting in and feeling normal, because I never felt normal. I knew what people were thinking. One kid in our that I grew up with, he lost his grandpa, and I told him that his grandpa said that he still loved him, and the kid like freaked out and ran away crying. And it was so sad, because it was like way too soon, and I didn't know the power of my gifts at that time, and he wasn't paying me, so I didn't have any right telling him. But his grandpa catered to me, so I just thought I'd tell him what his grandpa was telling him, that it was okay and that he still loved him. And yeah, that backfired. Anyway, so 6th grade all the way through my wild years in the 80s and the 90s, where I did a lot of drinking and talking to angels when I was drunk or high or whatever, and just couldn't figure it out. And then I met a man in my 30s, David Hassert, and he just opened the floodgates and then explained to me what was going on, and as best as he could. And of course, just tons of stuff was happening and that I didn't understand. And then my mom, when I was telling her about it, said, yeah, your grandma told your father that he was a healer when he was 9 years old, and that grandma yardstick, that's where it starts from. And you can see pictures of her on my website. She is the one who started it, and she was a German woman, and they lived in Lake Mills, Wisconsin, and there were no doctors anywhere around, so people from miles and miles around would come and see my grandma, and she would help them. And that was back in the day when obviously they could, and there weren't a lot of doctors or hospitals around at that time, and not a lot of money either. So they did what they had to, lots of remedies. And so that's where it comes from. That's my lineage. And so my father, when I was a little girl, would always tell me, oh, that, like, I would talk to him about stuff, and he'd be like, oh, that's a figment of your imagination. And I'd be like, oh, I'm talking to people. I'd have reoccurring dreams. And I know he knew about it because it was happening to him too, but he was just really trying to, like, nix-nay it out of our life. And so when, in my 30s, when I told him that I was going to, do this for a living, he was like, Laura, don't tell people. They're not going to take it well. I was like, well, it's a different age, Dad, and I really feel called to work for God. And right before he died, because my dad passed away with Alzheimer's, unfortunately. And during those times, he would have times of lucidity. And so for a couple hours, he and I sat one day, and he told me how proud he was of me, and that I was very courageous, and that he could have never done it, that he hid behind it. And he helped people the way he could, but he just really never understood it. He grew up Missouri Synod Lutheran, it's very strict, and they don't believe in any of this and think it's the devil's work, but really it's not. It's really God's work. And so, I started off with guides, and I had 5 guides, and I had 7, and they would show themselves to me, and we'd start talking, and then 15, and then it grew and grew and grew and grew until now I have 444. Then I went through kind of a dark night of the soul, is what they call it, where you go through some pretty heavy duty stuff. I really don't want to get into it, but if you're interested in it, I would definitely talk to you about it. Or if you are going through that, most people that go through it know what's happening. And so that's how I met Tyson Bannigan, and how I got to do the deep clearing protocol. And then after that, then I kind of got boosted up. Not kind of, I did get boosted up. It's just so hard because, like, I want to be humble about this, because my journey's been long. It's not been easy in any way, shape, or form. It was extremely separating from the normal world, right? Because when you know things about people, or you hear things, or whatever, like even my childhood best friend was like, Laura, we're talking about God, and you always knew things before, he's just like, we always listen to you, because, like, if you said not to do something, or we were going to get in trouble, they knew to listen, because it would ultimately always, somebody would get in trouble if he didn't listen to me. So we stayed out of trouble that way. So I always had this gift, but it was also very, like, too much, or like I would have boyfriends, and I'd be like, slow down, there's going to be a cop coming up. And sure enough, every time they're like, how do you know that? And I'm like, and at the time, I didn't know how I knew. And then when I met David Hassert, my first teacher, and he was an acupuncturist, and he needled me, and I opened up, and I came in, and just like in the movie Ghost, my guides kept going, ask him. And my heart was pounding, because I'm like, he's going to think I'm crazy. Ask him. And then the ask him, like, grew so, they wouldn't stop, that I was just like, okay, fine, just shut up, and I will ask him to stop saying it. And they wouldn't until he came in, and I was like, David, I have to ask you something. And then it stopped, and I was like, and he's like, what? And I'm like, okay, don't think I'm crazy, but do you, like, ever hear, like, angels or things like that? And he's like, why do you? And I was like, uh-huh. And he's like, awesome. And he jumped up onto his desk, and he's like, tell me about it. You opened up. That's awesome. And I'm like, okay, because it's freaking me out. And so from there on out, I've had I've had teachers along the way, a little bit here and there, but for the most part, I had to teach myself. And I had to learn through trial and error. And if you know me from before, my heart opened up. And before I was talking to God, I did a lot of errors, so I apologize and please forgive me. Because I wasn't perfect, but I sure did try. And, we're only human. We're all human. And it's like, I remember just being like, sometimes, David, like, don't you ever just want to, like, get up on the table and just be like, wake up, what are you doing? And I'd be like really kind of aggressive, right? I had this really aggressive tendency. And then I met Shay, my muscle tester now that I work with, and I had those cavities that have mercury in them, and that mercury was really affecting my nervous system. So I had those all removed by my dentist here in Madison. Thank God for Brad. Brad Bice, he's awesome. Anyways, he took them all out and put in some new ones, and immediately my whole body just went, and my nervous system calmed down, because I used to slam doors and yell for no reason, and that was why. Apparently, she said my nervous system was always kind of being attacked, and so at times when it didn't make any rhyme or reason, it just, right? And so thank God that's over, and I've calmed down and opened up my heart. And with that, my experience with God has opened up to a whole new level. And now he's done this, where he's asked me to come onto YouTube and do these. There's a lot of us out here right now doing the work of God, getting out the word, talking to everybody about the changes that are coming up in the world and how to navigate it. So I'm a Christian. I was raised a Christian from my parents, so that's what's most comfortable for me. But I have clients from all religions, all walks of life. I'm very open and understanding of all of them. I use the word God. I know other people are like source energy, or universal energy is another word that is sometimes used, and that's fine. It's all the same. I'm studying the Kabbalah right now, or Kabbalah. That's how they pronounce it, I believe. And I really am enjoying that. That is very much in alignment with a lot of the stuff that I've already learned along the way, and it's just making a lot more sense to me, which is kind of fun. I love studying new things and understanding new ways of thinking. I love meditating. Yesterday I meditated for 2 hours, and this morning I meditated for another hour, and I love talking and conversing with God. And last night my dad came in. I tried calling my mom, and she was down with her gang at where she lives, and they all like gather together around the table and talk at night. So I was telling my dad, I was like, I'm so glad that she's found some friendships there and that she's so happy. And he's like, yeah, she really deserves it. And I said, hey, how come you don't talk to me as much anymore, Dad? And he said, how come you don't listen more? Because that's what God had said last night, because I tried to put out a video, and of course my microphone wasn't working. And in fact, my microphone wasn't working until just now. I kept doing this, and I had to stop and redo it, and finally figured it out. Anyways, he was like, yeah, no, I don't want you to talk about that yet. I want you to tell the world about yourself right now, or tell the people, and let them know, so they know that you're coming in, that I've had a long road. I've fought my way all the way to here. I'm 53 years old, and I'm just so proud now to be able to stand up and work for God and talk to you about God, give you some insight on the different, like the little kids that are being born right now from age about 10 down to 0. All the new ones are coming in are all crystalline. They're beautiful, amazing children. And they're so brilliant. They're so brilliant. They're so much smarter than what you could ever imagine. And from 0 to 5, we're going to teach them everything that we need to know about the earth. And then they're here to teach us. So I'm going to talk a lot about the crystalline kids. Help you guys out with that. I'm going to talk about relationships. I'm going to talk a lot about God, because that's the dude that's like making this all happen. And I'm going to talk about prayer and meditation and love and how to get along and community. And as Eric Taylor, my astrologist friend, he and his wife I just love them so much. He was saying that the world is going from a me to a we. A we. Community. Everyone gathering together and doing this together. So come with me. Come on, join me here at Kuhl. Just come join with me here whenever I throw one out, right? And then like and subscribe and comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you guys want to know about. Ask me some questions. Boy, I'll connect you with whatever it is that you need. Yeah, that's what we're here to do, right? Connect with God, make life a lot easier. And I'm finally doing what I'm called to do, because God is calling me to do this. Before, I would ask God questions about other people, giving them readings. And I still love doing those, but I really, really like being led by God, and God saying, no, this is what I want you to talk about today. And He's very clear. And when He does not want me to talk about something, my microphone doesn't work. I swear it wasn't me. Okay, so I hope you'll join me here for some laughs, for some good times, for some great conversations. And just thanks. I love you. Thank you for showing up. Thanks for following me all the way to the end here. It's 17 minutes. Yeah. Thanks. Peace out.